Layla Davis, known as counsel to her unit for her razor-sharp legal mind and unyielding resolve, grew up in the vibrant, turbulent heart of New Orleans' Ninth Ward, where the air carried the soul of jazz, the scent of gumbo, and the weight of a community scarred by history. Born in 1988 to a single mother who worked as a hotel maid and a father who served as a logistics sergeant in Desert Storm, Layla learned early to navigate a world that often dismissed a black girl with big ambitions. Her father, James, came home from the Gulf with a quiet pride and a worn leather journal filled with sketches of tanks and notes on duty, which he shared with Layla during humid evenings on their porch. That journal and his stories of keeping his unit supplied under fire ignited her desire to serve, to prove herself beyond the poverty and violence that shadowed her childhood. By 2016, at 28, Layla was restless, her law degree from Tulane earning her a clerk job, but no path forward in a city where connections often trump talent. The Army offered purpose, a way to honor her father's service and wield her legal skills for justice. She walked into a recruiting office in the French Quarter, her braids pinned neatly, her eyes fierce with determination. "I want to be a JAG officer," she told the recruiter, her voice steady despite the nerves knotting her stomach. Her mother, her hands rough from years of scrubbing linens, pressed a small gold cross pendant into Layla's palm, a gift from her father. "Keep your heart strong, baby," she said, her voice thick with pride and worry. With the pendant around her neck, a duffel bag over her shoulder, and her father's journal tucked inside, Layla boarded a bus to Fort Benning, Georgia, ready to trade the chaos of the Ninth Ward for the discipline of the Army, her heart a mix of hope and defiance in a world that had always demanded she prove her worth. Basic training was a crucible, the Georgia heat a relentless force that soaked her fatigues as she ran obstacle courses, her boots sinking into red clay, her lungs burning under shouted orders. Layla wasn't the strongest, standing 5'6" with a lean frame, but her mind was a steel trap, honed by years of studying law under flickering lights and dodging trouble in her neighborhood. Officer candidate school and JAG training at Fort Lee, Virginia, were her proving grounds, where she mastered military law courts, martial ethics, rules of engagement, her briefs as precise as a sniper's aim. "Davis, you've got a courtroom in your head," her instructor, Major Carla Evans, said after Layla argued a mock case, dismantling the opposition with logic and fire. But respect wasn't universal. A cadet named Ethan Walsh, a white Southerner, with a smug drawl, mocked her accent and heritage, calling her voodoo lawyer during breaks. During a legal simulation, Walsh misfiled her brief, nearly costing her a passing grade. Layla redrafted it overnight, her jaw tight, and aced the exercise, earning Evans' nod but Walsh's glare. She didn't confront him, she let her work speak, graduating in 2017 as a first lieutenant, her JAG badge a symbol of her fight to rise above every slight. Stationed at Fort Bliss, Texas, with the 1st Armored Division, Layla joined the Iron Sentinels, a legal unit tasked with advising commanders and prosecuting cases. Her knack for untangling complex regulations earned her the nickname Counsel, a nod to her ability to guide soldiers through legal mazes. Her team became her anchor captain Marcus Reed, a paralegal from Detroit with a quick wit, Specialist Assia Brooks, a clerk from Atlanta with a sharp eye for detail, and Major Elena Harper, a black officer from Houston who mentored Layla, seeing her own struggles in her fire. They trusted Layla's judgment, her ability to argue cases under pressure, making her a cornerstone of the Sentinels. Off-duty, she was introspective, sketching New Orleans' French Quarter, its iron balconies, street musicians, and Mississippi River glow in her father's journal, a habit from her teenage years when she'd draw to escape the noise of home. She'd sit by the Rio Grande, sketching St. Louis Cathedral or her father's old garage. Her pencil a quiet rebellion against the Army's grind. In 2018, she met Samir Patel, a civilian defense attorney from Austin who consulted on base cases. Over coffee at a dusty El Paso diner, they bonded, Layla sharing stories of Mardi Gras parades, Samir talking of his Indian heritage, his love for blues music, and his childhood in Mumbai before moving to Texas. "You're a force, Layla," he said one evening, his smile warm as he handed her a baignette, their fingers brushing. Their love grew in stolen moments letters during her long hours, late-night calls, a weekend in San Antonio where they walked the river walk, her laughter bright under the stars. Samir gave her a silver locket with a tiny crescent moon, a nod. "To New Orleans. You're my city," he said, slipping it around her neck. Layla wore it with her father's cross, but their love was tested by her caseload and his work in Austin. The distance a growing ache. In 2019, Layla, now a captain, earned a commendation for prosecuting a fraud case, exposing a contractor skimming funds from base construction. Her courtroom presence, calm, sharp, relentless, made her a rising star, but it drew enemies. Lieutenant Colonel Mark Crow, a logistics officer with a polished smile and a predatory edge, took over the Sentinel's oversight in 2020. Crow, a white careerist from Virginia with Pentagon connections, carried a prejudice as subtle as it was vicious. He dismissed Layla's legal opinions, calling her overzealous, and made lewd comments about her appearance, masked as jokes. "You clean up nice for a lawyer, Davis," he'd say, his eyes lingering too long. Layla kept her composure, documenting his remarks in her journal, but the harassment escalated. During a late-night briefing in 2021, Crow cornered her in his office, assaulting her under the guise of discussing case files. The attack left Layla shaken, her body bruised, her mind fractured, the locket and cross cold against her skin. She reported it to Harper, her mentor, who urged her to file a formal complaint. "He's dangerous, Layla," Harper said, her voice heavy. "But it won't be easy." Layla, clutching her journal, nodded, her resolve hardening despite the fear clawing her chest. Crow's retaliation was swift. He spread rumors that Layla had fabricated the assault, accusing her of seducing him to dodge a poor performance review. His allies, including Walsh, now a captain, amplified the lies, painting her as unstable, a troublemaker playing the race card. The Sentinel stood by her, Reed and Brooks, risking their careers to corroborate her story, but fear of Crow's influence silenced others. Layla found two other victims, Specialist Tanya Lee and Private First Class Maria Gonzalez, who'd endured Crow's abuse but stayed silent, terrified of ruin. She helped them file reports, building a case with text messages, medical exams, and witness statements from Brooks and Reed. The process was grueling. Investigators questioned her character, her past in the Ninth Ward twisted to suggest promiscuity. Her nightmares grew. Crow's face, the office's dim light, the sound of her own stifled screams. She wrote to Samir, her letters raw. "I'm fighting, but I'm breaking," she confessed. His replies, full of love and rage, kept her afloat. But his work in Austin limited his presence, their calls strained by her trauma. Counseling via telehealth helped, a VA therapist guiding her through PTSD. But the Army's culture made vulnerability feel like defeat. The investigation began in late 2021, as Fort Bliss buzzed with rumors. Crow's connections slowed the process, his allies leaking stories to discredit Layla. Her emails were audited. Her childhood in a rough neighborhood used to question her credibility. Walsh spread lies, claiming she'd flirted with Crow, while anonymous notes in her locker called her slurs. The stress fractured her world. Her mother, proud but distant, didn't understand the Army's toll. Samir's visits grew tense, his frustration mounting. "I can't watch you destroy yourself," he said during a heated call, his voice breaking. Layla's sketches turned dark, jagged lines, broken crosses, no longer New Orleans, but a city of shadows. She leaned on Harper, who risked her own career to testify, and Lee and Gonzalez, whose courage bolstered her own. The case went to court-martial in 2022. Layla's testimony unflinching, her voice steady as she faced Crow's smug stare. The evidence, texts, medical reports, witness accounts was overwhelming. Crow was convicted of multiple counts of sexual assault, sentenced to 7 years in Leavenworth, stripped of rank. The Army, under pressure, implemented new sexual assault protocols, mandatory training, anonymous reporting lines. Layla's fight made headlines, her name synonymous with courage, but victory came at a cost. Crow's allies branded her a troublemaker, her promotion to major stalled, her record tainted with vague conduct issues. The Sentinels were reassigned, Harper forced into early retirement. Layla, exhausted by the fight and the armies, lingering stigma, resigned in late 2022, her JAG badge a bittersweet memory. She returned to New Orleans, the city's vibrancy now a painful contrast to her inner turmoil. The Ninth Ward felt both home and foreign, too loud, too chaotic, its colors too bright for her shadowed heart. She moved into a small apartment. Her mother's cross and Samir's locket her only keepsakes, their weight a mix of comfort and pain. PTSD gripped her, crowd-sparked panic. Sleep brought Crow's face, the journal now filled with broken sketches of courtrooms and helicopters. Samir tried to stay, but the distance, emotional and physical, broke them. "I love you, but I can't carry this," he said, leaving for Austin, the locket a wound she couldn't touch. Layla struggled to find work, her JAG experience dismissed by law firms wary of her controversial exit. She took freelance paralegal gigs, her savings dwindling, her mother's health declining under the strain of supporting her. A veterans group in Treem, led by a Gulf War vet named Clarence, became her lifeline. They met in a community center, sharing stories of service and survival over chicory coffee. Layla found purpose advocating for assault survivors, volunteering at a local women's shelter, her legal skills helping victims navigate the system. She mentored a young survivor, Tamika, teaching her to write affidavits and reclaim her voice. "You're stronger than they know," Layla told her, seeing her own fire in Tamika's eyes. Reed visited in 2023, now a civilian, his hug fierce. "You changed things, Counsel," he said. Layla smiled, but the victory felt hollow, the Army's betrayal a scar deeper than any wound. At a 2024 Mardi Gras parade, Harper, now a counselor, found her eyes wet. "You fought for us all," she said, handing Layla a new sketchbook. Layla stood amid the floats, the music loud, her heart heavy with the cost of her courage. Layla Davis, a lawyer who fought for justice, loved fiercely, and exposed truth against a system that tried to break her, carried her scars with quiet strength, a testament to the price of valor paid not in glory, but in the enduring fight to rebuild a life fractured by the pursuit of what was right.